Oh shit, 22. Huh. Oh, it's only gonna be a small video. I just want to make this a bit of a small video, which, as you've seen the label of it, is world building. And if you've ever been curious, like how I've shit on Ruby so much, it's because I don't judge Ruby based on it being its own product. I judge Ruby based on other products I've seen. I have one simple ranking system of 0 to 10. And obviously great things that I've seen will get close like in the nines and everything. And then Ruby, it's like, is it fair to judge Ruby based on Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood? No, they got a bigger budget, but at the same time, it's like it exists in the world, and if you're going to give Ruby an 8 out of 10, but you're going to give Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood a 9.2 out of 10, and yet the difference in their quality is astronomical. I don't see how you can give Ruby an 8 out of 10 when it's shit compared to Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Hence the reason why I'd give Ruby something like a 3.5 or a 4 out of 10. It's like, you're down there, you're nowhere close to this level. And in regards to this video, we'll be going over my scaling of world building. I'm gonna try to justify why I shit and why world building is important to me and why I shit on Ruby's world building. But first, before we get into that, I just want to tell everybody, if you're aware of Adele Aka, he's recently dropped a new video of what to expect in Volume 8. Go look at it at the video, because if you've seen my video, 8 things I want in Volume 8. What the fuck was that? Hang on a sec. Hang on. Okay, it's creepy when it's early and you hear knocking from somewhere but no one answers. That's really creepy, by the way. Anyway, the video I made is what I want. I never, and I say in the video as well, it's not what I think's gonna happen. But in Adele Aka's video, it's what he actually thinks is gonna happen in Volume 8. And in all honesty, it's a bit of a depressing video because you realize, he's been actual truthful and he's justifying why he thinks certain things will happen based on things like budget and recycled resources. It kind of really lowers your expectations for Volume 8, even with it supposedly being hyped up. Um, Go watch his video. World building. World building. I know that hardcore Ruby fans, oh yeah, where the stands. This show's so freaking great. I mean, it's got its problems, but it's really great. Oh, wow. Why is Ruby rated so low? On world building, 0 to 10. I'm gonna give you. There's only one series, one kind of like world, that actually gets a 10 out of 10 from me. That sits up there at the pinnacle. And if you're not familiar with it, it's Warhammer 40k. The world building of Warhammer 40k is goddamn ridiculous. Like, it set itself apart from every other thing on the planet that's fiction. I mean, you got multiple species. I would say you got like 9 different species, right? Then you go to the most probably well known, the Space Marines. You got the God Emperor, who has 16 Primarchs. Primarchs are the leaders of the sub factions of the Space Marines. So you got 16 sub factions. 8 of them will commit heresy and go on to be the Chaos Space Marines. 8 of them will stay loyal to the Emperor, as well as the Custodians and the Grey Knights being created post heresy, meaning that there's 10 subtypes of the Space Marines, and each and every single one has different biology, different homeworld, different environment, different pros and cons based on their subclass, what their fighting style, and that's just them. That's just the basics of them. Like each subclass will have its own book that you have to read to know how to deal with it. And then if you want to fight the other Space Marines, you have to read their books to learn the most efficient way to fight them. And if you're going to fight a different alien race, whether it's Tyranids, Orcs, Eldar, Dark Eldar, Necrons, Tau, you have to start reading up on their shit as well as their subclasses. Not to mention, for some goddamn reason, that it's held in 40k, which stands for 40,000. It's the year 40,000. There's enough history that dates back to when Earth first started, before they left for the stars. The Necrons, being the oldest race, take part before all of this shit happened. The lore is insane, is my point. That it's the 10 out of 10. You cannot beat Warhammer 40k. It's the pinnacle of world building. What's my 9? My 9 would go out to things like Star Wars and Star Trek. And for all you young cunts out there, if you start going, oh yeah, Star Wars, the new trilogy, it's so great. No, it's a piece of shit. What I'm mainly referring to would be the idea of the cinematic universe, but this might be a unique concept for you. Go read a fucking book. I mean that. I know it's not high tech, but literally go to a library, go to a bookshop, look up Star Wars, and buy the friggin' books. Read those books, and find out just how big the world building and lore is of stuff like that. 8. 0 to 8. If I was giving you my 8, this is where anime shonen come into point. Because out of all anime, shonen have the biggest budget. And shonen may have their flaws, and most of their flaws come from actually being shonen. But in terms of world building, shonen, they have it, man. Anime wise, they can afford to have these huge world building laws. And yet they're an 8. They're not perfect. They fuck up their own lore sometimes throughout the story where they contradict each other. It happens with every shonen. Its own genre is a curse. But giving you that idea, by giving you my 10, my 9, and my 8, you see how high expectations are. Because when you're looking on a whole, from 0 to 10, 5 is your average. This is where it's like, oh, you've done good. It's clearly not perfect. You got as much bad as you do good. But there's your average. That's your 5. So for me to have things in my good section going from average to good to perfection, they got to be on a really high level. Which returns to Rwby. A show which has retconned its own lore multiple times. It's dropped entire plots that are supposed to be relative to characters' plot lines multiple times. Let me ask you this. They re-released the World of Remnant videos recently for some fucking dumbass reason that makes no goddamn sense. You go and watch the World of Remnant videos. You watch Volume 7. World of Remnant makes no fucking sense to Volume 7. Where is the Faunus racism? Where is the Faunus plot? Why are the Grimm allowed to survive in the cold? I don't know, the World of Remnant's saying they can't do any of these fucking things, but the show doesn't show any of it. So, I don't know why you're showing retconned World of Remnant videos now, when you've clearly changed how the show works. Rwby may be, I might give it a 3.5 to a 4 as a show, but when it comes to world building, this is on like a 2 out of 10. You can't hurt yourself that much with your own lore. But this was just me. I felt like I had to do this because I've copped so much shit from the Rwby fandom being like, oh, how dare you say this? How dare you say that? You can't justify it. And I'm like, I have my rating system. I put everything, things that I love. There are some book series that I love that I got. They're right over there, right on my cabinet. I love these friggin' book series. But just because I love them doesn't mean I'm going to give them a high ranking in world building. Some of them, I'm just trying to think. Actually, really struggling to think. Some of I read a lot of good books. Ooh, I am actually struggling. I read a lot of good books. What can I say? A lot of the books would clearly get probably anywhere a 7 or 8 in my ranking system for world building. Maybe I'll do a video on that, going through multiple book series that I have read, and if I'm giving off any warning, I'm obsessed with science fiction, uh, paranormal, urban fantasy, that type of any of that. I love reading that type of stuff. And before all the feminists get their panties in a twist, I would say 90% of the book series that I have read are all by female authors of varying race and age. As far as I can see from here, only 2 series that I've read have actually been written by men. And I'm not sure what race one of them is, and the other one, Sebastian de Castel, is actually a friend of mine on Twitter. He lives in Canada. Did the Spellslinger series as well as multiple other series, but yeah, that's world building. This is just my justification world building video, and as I said, please go watch Adele Acker's What to Expect in Volume 8. You may get the shits if you do, like, if you're not a fan of his type of videos and you're like, oh, he's just a hater. He's probably contributed a lot more to the Ruby community than half you assholes that are calling him a hater are. But in all honesty, he justifies why Volume 8 might be underwhelming. Because in truth, and as you've probably heard during this video, Ruby just doesn't have the budget to make an actual good series. That's its number one flaw. It doesn't have the money, it doesn't have the crew to make what we expect of an anime series. And that's how I'm gonna end my world building justification video. And if any of you out there take anything away from this, get into Warhammer 40k, because we're gonna see Henry Cavill soon in Warhammer 40k.